Assalamu alaikum everyone. How are you guys? Acha, walaikum salam. You guys will find the link in description. Okay, the link to the mock is in description. Please check. Let me also double check and see if it's there. Good afternoon. सर अगर हो सके तो किसी टॉपिक की भी स्ट्रीम रख लें. टॉपिक की स्ट्रीम इंशाल्लाह कल होगी. ठीक है, आज मॉक है, कल टॉपिक की स्ट्रीम होगी. So we'll do. We have time. So since you guys wanted me to practice, to do some practice for non-calculator papers, so here we are. Sir, do loads of these B1 mocks. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. How many mocks approximately will be 2? Ideally, I would like at least 3, considering the amount of time that we have. Kab hai Add Maths ka paper? I keep forgetting. I keep mixing up the dates actually with P3 and S1. So let me just check. 2 exams tomorrow. Challenge. Good luck to you guys. So Add Maths is on the 19th. Oh, we have plenty of time. Yeah, we have plenty of time. English literature. Oh, I heard that stuff. So please find the link in description, and in that link you will find the mock exam also. So please start to Abhi or 12:13. We will discuss this around at around 1, no, not 1, sorry. At around 2:30. 2:15 to 2:15 in fact. Okay? So if someone can just please check and tell me कि link है या नहीं. It's there? Chale. So start right away. Good luck to you guys. Remember, this is paper 1, so no calculator. Okay, paper 1, no calculator. Alright, so I'll leave you guys to it now. Okay, good luck. See you in about 2 hours, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum everyone. क्या हाल चाल हैं आप लोगों के भाई? That was a pretty straightforward paper. चलें, I'm glad. Differentiation कर दो कोई. चलें अभी देख लेते हैं. चलें. If you guys know the trend, आपको पता होगा कि मैं पहला मॉक अक्सर आसान ही बनाता हूँ. खैर, next mock inshallah I'll make it difficult. So let's start. Let's not waste any more. Let's try and finish this paper as soon as possible. Achha, before I start, I would really appreciate those who are watching would just like the stream and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. Will you do practice streams for calculus like क्योंकि latest streams में नहीं focus on concepts? Yeah, I'll do practice streams also. Okay, I'll do practice streams inshallah. Maybe not tomorrow, but on Tuesday for sure. ठीक है? Okay, so last question so tough. Challenge, we'll figure that out. So first question, remember this is non-calculator, okay? I hope nobody used a calculator because AdMath students are in a bit of a tricky situation because you don't have a lot of non-calculator practice material available. Other than the practice papers, other than the February-March paper, that's it. You don't have a lot of papers. So just make sure that whatever non-calculator mock that I take, you do it honestly, okay, without cheating. Now write down the amplitude of y. Okay, here's a simple suggestion. My suggestion to you guys is that whenever you come across a question like this, which has a trigonometric function, तो उसको ना ज़रा तमीज़ से लिख लिया करो. ठीक है, तमीज़ से लिखने का क्या मतलब है? उसको लिख लिया करो in a way that you write down the constant in the at the very end. Okay, you should write it in a way that the constant is written at the very end. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll explain. Just a minute. Let me just close a few windows here. Yeah. So write it like this. 4 cos 3 theta, 4 cos 3 theta plus 2. Okay, now what's the amplitude? Remember, if you have a graph of, if you have a trigonometric or if you have a cos or a sine function, the coefficient of the trigonometric function, that's the amplitude. Okay, so that means the amplitude is 4. Period. Okay, how do we calculate the period? Remember, the period is the natural period, which is 360, divided by the coefficient of x or coefficient of theta, which is 3, which in this case is equals to 120. Thank you, Numair. I appreciate it. Okay, now we're supposed to sketch. Okay, now let me ask you guys this question. How many cycles are we going to draw, considering that the range that we're given is from minus 120 to 120? So how many cycles do you think we're going to draw over here? Because a lot of people think that we just look at the coefficient of x or the coefficient of theta and we say this is the number of cycles that we're going to draw. Okay, so that will be addressed over here. Acha, what's that? Hi sir, I appreciate that. Inshallah, inshallah. 2 cycles, that's correct. Why? Because one cycle will take 120 degrees, all right? And looking at the range that we're given, we'll probably draw one cycle here, okay, and another cycle here. Obviously, that's not the kind of graph that we're going to draw. It has to be done systematically. So let's do that. Let's get to work. We'll just draw one cycle, either on the positive side or on the negative side, and then we'll just copy paste that, okay? So no need to make this more difficult. No need to lose your mind that, oh my God, this is without a calculator. What am I going to do now? No, it's quite simple. And what is the step that we're going to take? The step that we're going to take will be 20 degrees, meaning that we'll plug in values after every 20 degree interval here. Okay, so let's start with 0. Okay, let's start with 0. Now, if you plug in 0, okay, you can make a table for yourself if you like. And remember, you're supposed to memorize values of 0, 30, 45, 60, 90. Okay, all these values you're supposed to memorize. So here's x, here's y. And you know what? You can be extra smart about this as well. So once we plug in 0, here's how this works. Cos 0 will be 1. Okay, I hope everyone remembers cos 0 is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 plus 2, what's that equal to? That's equal to 6. Okay, so this is something that you have to work out mentally and you have to memorize the table. I've made a video on the table as to how you can memorize that table. Let me show you guys. I've taught a small trick in that video also. I hope I have it. It's probably in my notes, which by the way, you guys can download for free. They're on the website mathleadbysart.com. Yeah, so this is the table that I'm talking about. Okay, so I've made a video on this as to how you can memorize it. I've taught a small trick in it as well, so I would strongly encourage you guys to check it out. Okay, and if you're afraid that you will forget these values, then my suggestion to you would be that as soon as you get the paper, just draw this table. Okay, draw this table, and it'll make it easy for you. So when you plug in 0, you get 6. Okay, now when you plug in 20, here's the thing. 20 will first get multiplied by 3, okay, which means you're now dealing with cos 60. Okay, now what's cos 60 equal to? Cos 60 is equals to half. Okay, when you plug in 20, it will basically become cos 60, which is equal to half. So that means what we're dealing with will be 4 times half plus 2. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. 4 times half plus 2. Now what's 4 times half? 4 times half is basically 2. What's 2 plus 2 equal to? That's equal to 4. So that means at 20, this is where it's at. Okay. Now, even if let's say we can draw it till 60, then after that, it's just going to be a reflection of the other. Okay. Even if we can draw it till 60, after that, it's just going to be a reflection of the other. Okay. So that's what I intend to do. Let's plug in 40. So if I plug in 40, let's see what happens. If you plug in 40, so that means 40 times 3, that's 120. Okay, cos 120 is basically minus half. Okay, cos 120 is minus cos 60, so that's basically minus half. ठीक हो गया? Okay, so 4 times minus half plus 2, let's see what's that equal to. 4 times minus half is minus 2 plus 2, that's equal to 0. So why are we plugging in 20? We're plugging in 20 because look at the grid that we're given. The grid that we're given has 20-degree intervals. So that means at 40, it's equal to 0. Okay, at 40, it's equal to 0. Okay, now, let me make sure of that. 4 times minus half. Yep, that's correct. 4 times. Yeah, we're good. Okay, now, let's plug in 60. If you plug in 60, 60 times 3 is what? 60 times 3 is 180. Okay, so what are you dealing with? What's cos 180 equal to? You can recall the shape of the curve. Cos 180 is equal to minus 1. Okay, cos 180 is equal to minus 1. ठीक हो गया? Okay, now if cos 180 is equals to minus 1, so that means what we're dealing with is 4 times minus 1 plus 2. Now what's 4 times minus 1? That's minus 4. Minus 4 plus 2, what's that equal to? That's equal to minus 2. And that's it. Okay, we have drawn the first half. The next half is just going to be symmetrical. Okay, so that means at 80 it's going to be equal to 0. At 100 it's going to be equal to 4. At 120 it's going to be equal to 6. So there you go. This is one half of this is one cycle. Okay, and here we will have the exact same cycle. There you go. Job done. Meetup required at 100K. Chalo, let's see. Let's see, inshallah. Let's first reach 100K. Then we'll talk about that. Okay, so patience is key here. Don't rush into it. Don't do it directly. I only recommend that you directly if you've done like lots and lots of practice. Otherwise, I don't recommend that you do it directly. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So let me just double check that I've done everything correctly. Yeah, we're good. Okay, now question number 2. Is there any other part to it? No. Question number 2 says, given that log a base p plus log 12 base p minus log 6 base p is equals to 3 log 4 base p. 40 समझ नहीं आया? बेटा जब आप 40 plug in करोगे तो वो 3 से multiply हो जाएगा. Okay, when you plug in 40, what happens? It basically gets multiplied by 3. So here's the working behind 40. Pay attention. The working behind 40 is 4 cos 3 times 40 plus 2. So that means it's 4 cos 120 plus 2. Now what's cos 120 equal to? If you remember your supplementary angle identities, cos 120 is equals to minus cos 60. Okay, and what's cos 60 equal to? Cos 60 is equals to half. So that means 4 times minus half plus 2. So 4 times minus half is minus 2. Minus 2 plus 2 is equals to 0. Okay, so if you can't do it directly, there's honestly no shame in adding some extra layers of working. Okay, the idea is to get it right. The idea is not to be over smart or to use some tricks. The idea is to get it right. So if you can't do it directly, there's no problem. Just do whatever the steps are necessary for you to get it right. Simple as that. ठीक है. अच्छा ये दो क्यों आ रहे हैं? Just a second. Okay. Now, where were we? Let's resume. So the double would be negative. What do you mean the double would be negative? No, देखो, don't memorize this. The double would be negative. There are identities for it. Okay, please don't make any of these standard rules. Okay, this is an identity that we do in math. Cos 180 minus theta is equals to minus cos theta. We call this supplementary angle identity. Okay, so don't make these standard rules that double would be negative, because this standard rule is not going to work all the time. ठीक हो गया? अच्छा, just a second. All right, so let's start simplifying this. Let's start using rules of logs. So in all these logs, you can see that we have a common base. Okay, and what's that base? That base is p. So if the base is common, we can use product rule and we can use quotient rule. So a and 12 are being added, so the arguments get multiplied. 6 is being subtracted, so 6 gets divided, is equal to log. Now 4 will make this 4 cube and base remains p. Okay, now because the bases are same, we can temporarily ignore the bases. Okay, we're not cancelling them out. We say that we are ignoring the bases. Okay, so let's simplify. So this is 12a upon 6 is equals to 4 cube, which is 64. So 6 ones are, 6 twos are. 2a is equals to 64. A is equals to 64 upon 2, which means a is equals to 32. There you go. Easy peasy. Easy 3 marks. 37? No, you probably did something wrong. 37 doesn't make sense to begin with. You probably... maybe you subtracted 6 instead of dividing. I don't know, but you probably made some error. Anyway, find the exact solutions. Now, these are the kind of questions you can expect in P1. Exact means that you will leave your answer in third form. You'll leave your answer in terms of pi if necessary, or in ln, or in exponential form if necessary. Okay, so what are we dealing with? We're dealing with 4 log x base 3, and here we have log 3 base x. So there are many ways that you can solve this. Okay. The cleanest way is substitution. So we're going to say, okay, let log x base 3, and whenever you're using substitution, remember, it's always a good idea to substitute the one which has a value as the base. Okay, the variable is the argument and the value is the base. Why? Because it's easy to solve then. Okay, so we're going to let this be equal to a, which means this becomes 4a, which is equal to 9 upon, now if I take the reciprocal of this using the reciprocal law, this will become log x base 3, which means this can also be written as 9 upon a. Upon cross multiplying, we'll have 4a square, which is equal to 9, which means a square is equals to 9 upon 4, which basically means that a is equals to plus minus 3 upon 2. Okay, now please don't leave it here thinking that you're done with the question. No. You have to find out the value of x. Okay, another way to pick up hint from the question is, notice the question says solutions. That means there's got to be more than one. Okay, so don't take these small things lightly, because this will give you a direction, or this will sort of give you an idea as to what to anticipate the end result to be. Okay, so this means that your end result has got to have 2 values. So remember, we took a as log x base 3, so that means log x base 3 is either equal to positive 3 upon 2, or log x base 3 is equal to negative 3 upon 2. So that means the final answer is either 3 raised to the power 3 upon 2, you can leave it as it is if you want, or you can write it as 3 cube, which is 27, cube root of 27, it's up to you, or 3 raised to the power minus 3 upon 2. Okay, they're both acceptable. Or if you want, you can go ahead and write this as 3 cube inside the square root, which means now you have a small responsibility, and responsibility is that you are supposed to, the question doesn't say that you're supposed to simplify or anything. So you know what, I'm going to leave it here. This is good enough, because the question, if the question doesn't say to write it in a certain form, then no need to waste time in writing it in a certain form. Just leave it here. That's good enough. Okay, sir, as paper 2 came pretty easy according to most candidates and P1 was a little disturbed. What do you think about the threshold? What I think about the threshold is irrelevant. Okay, paper ho gaya hai, ab mere threshold hone na hone se, whatever I think about the threshold, right, doesn't make a difference. Okay, so it's a useless debate. It's like we sit here and debate whether it's going to rain tomorrow or not. Okay, so the only way to find out is to actually wait and see whether it's going to rain tomorrow or not. Simple as that. So it's a wide confusion. Ln x and e to the power of x graph in F inverse graph and when they intersect and when they don't. So I will do a stream on it, inshallah. So I'm planning extensive streams on functions. So I will do it. Okay. The curve C has equation so and so. The normal to the curve at C, the normal to the C at the point where x equals to 1 meets y equals to x. Okay. Find the exact coordinates of P. Okay, find the exact coordinates of P. Once again, exact means what? Exact means that there's got to be in terms of ln, got to be in terms of E, in terms of insert form. So that's what it basically means. And these are the kind of questions that you can expect in paper 1. In paper 1, if you expect a question of differentiation, integration, chances, or even trigonometry, chances are you may be asked to write the answer in exact form. I'm beginning to dislike the word threshold. Yeah, honestly, it's a useless debate. I mean, I don't know how to convince you guys. It's probably something that I have to deal with year in, year out, but it's useless. Okay, it's useless debating over what the threshold is going to be. Rather, spend their time actually learning a concept. Spend their time actually studying. Anyway, so the important part here is that we want the equation of normal. ठीक है, क्या चाहिए हमें? हमें चाहिए equation of normal. So that means the first thing that we'll have to do is we'll have to differentiate. Okay. So let's differentiate. We have y is equals to ln x cube plus 3. So as we differentiate ln, remember dy by dx is equals to 1 upon x cube plus 3. Okay. Into the differential of x cube plus 3, which is going to be 3x squared. All right. Now, dy by dx. अच्छा बेटा, जब आपको सर जैन से ऑलरेडी आंसर मिल गया तो फिर आप मुझसे क्यों पूछ रहे हैं? चलें, लेट मी आस्क यू दैट. जब सर जैन ने आपको ऑलरेडी बता दिया है तो अब आप क्या मेरा और उनके सजेस्टेड थ्रेशोल्ड का एवरेज निकालेंगे आप? ठीक है. The reason why you're asking me is because you're not convinced, and nobody can be convinced. Nobody can tell you what the threshold is going to be like. ठीक है. But again, coming back to my question, जब सर जैन ने आपको ऑलरेडी आंसर दे दिया तो अब आप मुझसे क्यों पूछ रहे हैं? चलें, ये बताएं. So dy by dx is equals to 3 times 1 squared over 1 cube plus 3. So 3 upon 4. There you go. Now this is what? This is the gradient of tangent. Okay, but we don't want the gradient of tangent, we want the gradient of normal. Okay, we want the equation of normal. So what's the equation of normal going to be? The equation of normal is going to be, the gradient of normal is going to be minus 4 upon 3. Okay, so far so good, I hope. Now, remember, you want a point through which the normal is passing so that you can find its equation. Okay, you want a point through which the normal is passing so that you can find its equation. Okay. Achha. Ab how can I find out the point? Notice that we're given the value of x, we want the y coordinate. So if x is equals to 1, how will I find out the y coordinate? The y coordinate will be equal to ln 1 cube plus 3. So that means x equals to 1 and y is equals to ln 4. Okay, so we have a point. All right, now let's plug this in. 1 comma ln 4. Okay, keep your eyes on the prize. We want the point of intersection between the line y equals to x, and we want the exact coordinates of P. And by the way, y equals to x means that whatever, we can just find out one coordinate, and the y coordinate or the x coordinate is going to be exactly the same as the other. So let's put this together. Y minus ln 4 is equals to minus 4 upon 3 into x minus 1. Okay, so we have the equation. Now, no need to simplify this equation or anything. Remember, we basically want to find out the point of intersection between this normal and the line y equals to x. So all you got to do is either replace y as x or x as y, same thing. So I'm going to replace x as y as x. So x minus ln 4 is equals to minus 4 upon 3x plus 4 upon 3. Okay, let's get all the x's on one side. So x plus 4 upon 3x is equals to ln 4 plus 4 upon 3. Now what's x plus 4 upon 3? 3 plus 4, that's 7. So that's 7 upon 3 is equals to ln 4 plus 4 upon 3. Now how do we get rid of this 7 over 3? When you take it across the equals to sign, it gets multiplied. Or it gets divided, sorry. So ln 4 plus 4 upon 3 gets divided by 7 upon 3. Okay, this question is an easy question, but honestly, I think there's a lot that can go wrong in this question. So please make sure you don't end up making an error or something. So x equals to ln 4 plus 4 upon 3 the whole thing multiplied by 3 upon 7. Okay, now let's see what we're dealing with. So we're dealing with x is equals to 3 upon 7 ln 4. Okay, and then 4 into 3, that's, in fact, 3 and 3 will cancel. So we will basically be left with 4 upon 7. Now let's write this nicely. So x is equals to 3 ln 4 plus 4 upon 7. That's the x coordinate. And what will be the y coordinate? The y coordinate will also be exactly the same. Why? Because it's intersecting with the line y equals to x. So whatever is the x coordinate, the y coordinate will exactly be the same. In the end, you can give your answer in coordinate form if you like, although this is also good enough. But let's write the final answer. Okay, let me solve this question, but I'll take your questions. So here's the x coordinate, here's the y coordinate. Make a habit of putting a box around your answer so that the examiner knows. So that basically it stands out. There you go. Okay, sir, trigonometric ratios कौन से angles के याद करने हैं? देखें, आपने trigonometric ratios याद करने हैं अब 0, 30, 40. 0, 30, 45, 60, 90. I've made a video on it. And then the remaining you will remember with the help of identity. So for example, if you want to find out cos 120 is equal to what? Is equal to minus cos 60. If you want to find out, let's say, cos of 240. So cos 240 is equal to what? Cos 240 is equals to minus cos 30. Okay, using the quadrants. और हम आपने मेरे सवाल का जवाब नहीं दिया. पहले आप मेरे सवाल का जवाब दें, फिर मैं आपके सवाल का जवाब दूंगा. Sir, how is 30 out of 40, 38 to 40 out of 50? No, that's not a good score. That's not a good score. I have a whole playlist on. I've done multiple streams. I have multiple streams on trigonometry, which you can check. Acha, what's that? If the volume of a cube increases by 6%, find the approximate percentage increase of its surface area. Okay, Sabir, or I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, but here's what you're going to do. Take the initial volume to be equal to 100. In fact, don't take it 100. Take it as 1,000. Why? Because it's easy to take the cube root of 1,000. Okay? I'm not going to solve it, but I'll tell you how to solve it. Take the initial volume to be equal to 1,000. Okay? So if the volume is 1,000, that means all the lengths are 10, 10, 10. If you increase that by 6%, so what's 6% of 1,000? That's 60. So that means the new volume is 1060. Okay, you find out the initial surface area using 10, 10, 10. Now you find out the new surface area using the new lengths, which will be cube root of 1060. Okay, and then you calculate the difference. That's it. No rocket science. All right, now let's move on. Write down the range of f. Now, very simple. Remember, whenever you have an exponential function, okay, given that this is positive, so your mock is not opening from the link. But there's probably something wrong at your end. Okay, there's nothing wrong. Beta, first you answer my question, then I'll answer your question. So what's the range going to be? The range is going to be greater than 2. Yeah, this is AdMath's question. Achha, wait, the question that he's asked? I don't know. That doesn't seem like an AdMath's question, honestly. Find expression for f inverse. So expression for f inverse, here's how this works. Y is equals to 2 plus e raised to the power minus 3x. Let's make x the subject. So y minus 2 is equals to e raised to the power minus 3x. All right. Now we use ln. It was AdMath in non-calculator paper. Achha. Greater than 2, because if you remember exponential graph, so any exponential graph is like this. Okay, any exponential graph is like this. Actually, it's going to be greater than 3. Yeah, it's going to be greater than 3. Not greater than 2. It's going to be... No, wait. Say it. It's going to be greater than 2. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so this is what an exponential graph looks like. If, let's say, this is e raised to the power x. Okay. So if it's e raised to the power minus x or minus 3x or anything with x as minus, this is what it's going to be like. Okay, this is e raised to the power minus ax. All right, and what's the y-intercept? The y-intercept is 1. And what's the asymptote? The asymptote is basically y equals to 0. Now, if you add 2 to it, that means the asymptote will shift 2 units up. Okay, so basically whatever constant it is that you're left with, that is the asymptote. Okay, so this is the asymptote, y equals to 0. So if you add 2 to it, that means now the y-intercept is going to be 3, okay, and the asymptote will be y equals to 2. Okay, and if the asymptote is y is equals to 2, that means the range is f is greater than 2. Simple as that. Okay, so ln, coming back to part B, ln y minus 2 is equals to ln e raised to the power minus 3x. So we bring the minus 3x down. So we have ln y minus 2 is equals to minus 3x ln e. Now let's do the final step, which is let's make x the subject. So x is equals to minus 1 upon 3 ln y minus 2. Now the final step, which is where we replace x with f inverse and y with x. So minus 1 upon 3 ln x minus 2. There you go. Make a box around it, and there you go. All right. Now let's move on. Part C. On the axis, sketch the graph of y is equals to f of x and y is equals to f inverse of x, stating the coordinates of the points where the curves meet the coordinates. State the equations of any asymptotes. Label your curves. Okay. So let's see how we can do that. All right. Okay. So as far as this graph is concerned, okay, so this graph, we already know what it's going to look like. This graph is going to look something like this. And also we have to write down the equations of the asymptotes. Okay, so we know that the y-intercept of this graph will be 3. Okay, so somewhere over here is 3. And let's say somewhere over here is 1, and somewhere over here is 2. So that means this is what it's going to look like. And don't forget that the asymptote will be at y is equals to 2. Okay, the asymptote will be at y is equals to 2. There you go. ठीक हो गया. So this is the graph of f of x. This right here is the graph of f of x, and this is the equation of the asymptote y is equals to 2. ठीक है? Okay, now ln also has an asymptote. Okay, ln also has an asymptote. And what's that going to be? That is basically going to be 2. Okay, so how do we find out the asymptote? We equate the argument to 0 and we see what is that. That is basically x equals to 2. Or what you can do is you can reflect this along the line y equals to x. Okay, so if you reflect this line along the line y equals to x, if it's y equals to 2, it's going to become x equals to 2. Simple as that. Okay, so the asymptote, I'm going to draw that graph in red. So the asymptote is x equals to 2. Also, a couple of things to keep in mind. Since the range of this graph is greater than 2, the domain of that graph will be greater than 2. Okay. Now, what's the domain of this graph? The domain of this graph is x belongs to the set of all real values. That means the range of this graph will be all real values. Okay, now think of it this way. If I draw a graph like this, okay, if I draw a graph like this, and what about the x-intercept? How will I find out the x-intercept? Simple. If this graph has a y-intercept at 0, 3, so if this is f of x, once again, use your common sense. No need to actually solve or anything. If f of x has a point which has coordinates 0, 3, so that means when you get to f inverse of x, that will have coordinates 3, 0. Simple as that. There you go. ठीक हो गया? That's it. Job done. And just make sure that your graph actually does look like it's a reflection of the graph that you have drawn earlier. Okay, it does look like a mirror image along the line y equals to x. Does it? Yes, it does. Simple as that. Also, don't forget to write down the equation of the asymptote, which is x equals to 2. इस पे इंशाल्लाह एक detailed stream आने वाली है. ठीक है? I know this is a pain point for a lot of you. There's a detailed stream inshallah coming on this. Okay. Now part D. Part D says the function g is such that g of x is equals to x raised to the power 3 upon 2 plus 4, where x is greater than or equal to 0. Got to keep that in mind. Find the exact solution. Exact solution means that could be in surd form, could be in ln form. Let's find out. So g of f of x. G of f of x means that we will plug in function g in, no, we'll plug in function f in function g. G of f of x is equals to 12. That means we'll plug in function f in function g. So in place of x, we will have function f, which is basically 2 plus e raised to the power minus 3x. So 2 plus e raised to the power minus 3x raised to the power 3 upon 2 plus 4 is equal to 12. There you go. All right. Now 2 plus e raised to the power minus 3x, we obviously can't open this bracket, is equal to 12 minus 4, which is equal to 8. Okay. So ln graph should be the other way around. Nope. It's perfectly all right. There's nothing wrong with the ln graph. All right. Now, how do we get rid of the power 3 upon 2? We get rid of the power 3 upon 2 by raising it to a power which reduces it to 1. Okay, so what should 3 upon 2 be multiplied with so that it reduces to 1? 2 upon 3. So if you do something on the left-hand side, you got to do the exact same thing on the right-hand side. How do you know where will the e ka graph open up? I made it opposite. Okay, beta, this is e raised to the power minus 3x. Okay, e raised to the power positive x ऐसा होता है. Minus 3x means that you multiplied x by minus. What happens when you multiply x by minus? It gets reflected along the y-axis. Okay, so ये please आप लोग एक काम करें आप लोग. For now, जब तक stream नहीं आती, I would encourage you guys to download my notes. Okay, download my notes of functions. In functions, I've done this in detail here. Okay, so I've explained what will the graph of y equals to minus e power x look like. It will be a reflection along the line y equals along the y-axis. Minus e power x will be a reflection along the x-axis. Okay, so I've explained this all in detail. Okay, so please download my notes. They're available for free on the website mathleadbysart.com. Okay. All right. So what happens next is that the power reduces, exactly the objective, not a coincidence. So 2 plus e raised to the power minus 3x is equals to what's 8 raised to the power 2 upon 3? That basically means that you're taking the square of 8 and you're also taking the cube root of it. So first let's take the cube root. That will bring it down to 2. Okay, cube root. And then square it, so that's equal to 4. So that means this is equal to 4. So what are we looking at? We're looking at e raised to the power minus 3x, which is equal to 4 minus 2, which is equal to 2. Now a good idea would be, if you want, you can make the power on e positive if you want. Okay, otherwise if you don't want, you can still do. You can still go ahead and solve it. So taking ln on both sides, so you have minus 3x ln e is equal to ln 2. Let's solve for x. X is equals to minus 1 upon 3 ln 2, which is perfectly all right. So are we supposed to find out the exact solution? Yeah, so we're supposed to find out the exact solution, and there you go, that's the answer. Math stream maybe, I think. What's that? What's that math stream? Sir, Cambridge gave me 0 out of 3 for using synthetic division last year in my ad math paper. Can we not use it? I'm 100% sure that my answer was right. How do you know that Cambridge gave you 0 upon 3? That's interesting. How do you know that they gave you 0 upon 3? Can you explain again? Okay, I'll explain it again. So you plug in function f and function g. Okay. And the problem that you run into is that it has a power 3 upon 2. Okay, so how do you get rid of the power 3 upon 2? 3 upon 2, you raise it to its reciprocal, 2 upon 3. Now, what you do on the left-hand side, you do on the right-hand side as well. Okay. And that basically results in you having to take 8 raised to the power 2 upon 3. You having to evaluate 8 raised to the power 2 upon 3. And then you solve, and this is what you end up with. I got marks from subject access request. Really, Yusuf? Because I've confirmed it with examiners, they said synthetic division is allowed. Yusuf, if it's possible for you, can you send me that document on Instagram? I want to review it. Maybe there's some other reason why they haven't given marks. But synthetic division, because I've asked my senior teachers also, they say that it is allowed. Okay, but I would appreciate if you send that to me on Instagram or Anyhow, you can send it to me on my email also, saad@mathleadbysad.com. Okay. Okay, the polynomial p is such that p of x is equals to so and so. I appreciate that. What's your view on? Well, I hope it just cools down as soon as possible. That's what my view is. They only wrote the marks, not the script, but I'll share. Yeah, whatever it is, with the help of which you've drawn that conclusion that you get 0 out of 3 because of using synthetic division, that's what I want to see. Given that x plus 3 is a factor of p of x, and what's this? Don't think that this is a misprint and don't think this is inverse. This is p prime of x, which basically means that you have to differentiate it. So what are we going to plug in? We're going to plug in x equals to minus 3. So this means that p of minus 3 is equals to 0. Okay, so if you plug in minus 3, so that means 5 times minus 3 cubed plus a times minus 3 squared plus 39 times minus 3 plus b. There you go. Okay. And what's this equal to? This is equal to 0. Now there's a lot that can go wrong here. Okay, why? Because on the looks of it, it's easy, but there's a lot of calculation. So minus 3 cubed is minus 27. Minus 27 times 5 is 270 divided by 2. That's 135 with a negative sign. So that's minus 135 plus, so just make sure that your writing is presentable. Minus 3 squared is 9. 9 times a is 9a. 39 times minus 3. So 40 times 3 is, what's that? 40 times 3 is 120. 120 में से 3 कम कर दो. So that's 117. अच्छा. अब let's write this nicely. 9a plus b is equal to 135 plus 117. 135 plus 117. Okay, let's see what do we get. So 135 plus 1, so 5 plus 7 is 12, 3 plus 1 is 4, 4 plus 1 is 5, 5 plus, so 252. ठीक हो गया? Okay. I know, calculator की काफ़ी आदत हो गई. So this is equation number 1. Now let's differentiate it. Let's find p prime of x. P prime of x would be 5 times 3, that's 15. So 15x square plus 2ax plus 39. But here's the good news. Okay, with the help of this equation, we will get the value of a directly. Now p prime of minus 3, that's equal to 0. So that means 15 times minus 3 squared plus 2a times minus 3 plus 39 is equal to 0. Okay. Now minus 3 squared is 9. 9 times 15, so that's 90 plus 45. That's 135 again. Okay. 135 minus 6a plus 39 is equals to 0. So that means minus 6a is equals to, what's 135 plus 39? Let's see. So 9 plus 5, that's equal to 14. There you go. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. 174. Okay, is this divisible? Yeah, it seems divisible. So minus 174, minus minus cancel, is equals to 174 divided by 6. So 6 1s are 6, 6 2s are 12, 5 carry, 6 9s are 54. Okay, so a is equals to what? A is equals to 29. Once you have the value of a, go back to any one of the two equations. In fact, you can only go back to this equation. There is no other option that we have. So 9 times 29 plus b is equals to 252. So 9 times 29. So let's do 9 times 30. That's 270. 270 में से हम 9 कम कर देते हैं. So that would be 261 plus b is equals to 252. ठीक हो गया? Okay, so b is equals to 252 minus 261. So that's equal to minus 10 minus 9. There you go. b equals to minus 10. There you go. अच्छा सर, मेरे एड मैथ्स में सी आया था मॉक में. चलें, कोई बात नहीं. तो आई होप आपने जब से लेके अब तक जो टाइम था उसको अच्छे से यूटिलाइज़ किया हो. Now, hence solve the equation p of x is equals to 0. So hence solve means that we are going to use our answers from the previous part. Okay, now that we know what a is and what b is, we're going to use that. So इसको copy कर लेते हैं. ठीक है, let's paste it here. Oh yeah, that's minus 9. Sorry, I said minus 9, but I wrote minus 10. How silly. minus 9. Thank you. Okay, minus 9 is correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Sir, can we get a quick revision of the whole syllabus like the one Sir Zain does for math? I do plan on doing that, inshallah. A syllabus run through before paper 1. I do plan on doing that. Let's see. You must show your working. P of x is equals to 0. So with the values of a and b, so 5x cubed plus 29x square plus 39x minus 9. Now we know that this is divisible by, so I will not upload the marking scheme, but I'll upload this solution. Okay, we know that this is divisible by what? We know that this is divisible by x plus 3. There you go. This is divisible by x plus 3. So here's x plus 3. Now what are we going to do? We are going to multiply x by 5x square. So this becomes 5x cube plus 15x square. Acha, what's that? I got 78 out of 80 in my mock only because I remembered the specimen paper. Acha, chale. Khair. You still have to solve every question. Okay, so it's a good score. Take it. Nope, nothing to worry about. Now 29 minus 15, what's that equal to? That's equal to 14. Yeah, 14x square. 14x square plus 39x minus 9. Now what should I multiply x with? I need to multiply x with 14 along with x. Now when you do that, so you have 14x square. Okay. And what's 14 times 3? 14 times 3 is 3 times 10. That's 30. 30 plus 12, that's 42. So 42x. Now when we subtract, 14x square gets eliminated, not by coincidence, that was the objective. So we get minus 3x minus 9. So what should we multiply x with? We should multiply x with minus 3. So that's minus 3x minus 9. Upon subtraction, this gets eliminated and we get 0. Not by coincidence, but this was we were dividing it by a factor. So we have 5x square plus 14x minus 3 equals to 0. Now we need to solve this further. If you solve this further, you will have to use middle term breaking. Is middle term breaking possible? Yes, it is. So it's 15x minus x minus 3 equals to 0. Let's take 5 along with x common. So we have x plus 3. Let's take minus 1 common. So we have x plus 3 is equals to 0. Skipping a few steps. X is equals to 1 upon 5 and x is equals to minus 3. You can skip this step. That's perfectly all right. Achha, then what is the previous solution? The previous solution that we got was x is equals to minus 3. So here are your 3 solutions. You can write them in a straight line also. Yeah, so x is equals to minus 3 and 1 upon 5. So altogether there are 3 solutions. That's minus 3 into 1 upon 5. Yes, you can use comparing, you can use long division. Now as far as synthetic division is concerned, अभी किसी ने ज़रा कोई एक बात की कि सिंथेटिक डिवीजन में मार्क्स कट कर लिए हैं. ठीक है, अब ये मुझे कंफर्म करना पड़ेगा. वैसे तो एज फार एज आई नो दे डोंट कट मार्क्स फॉर सिंथेटिक डिवीजन, बट आई हैव टू कंफर्म दैट. ठीक है, किसने बोला था अभी? खैर, सो I'll double check with my teachers, okay, with my seniors, see what they have to say about that, and then we'll see. But comparing is totally allowed. Okay, you can use comparing, that's not a problem. All right. So you've sent it. Thank you, Yusuf. Appreciate it. I'll have a look at it and then I will talk about it. I'll make a small video about it. Sir, please confirm because, yeah, I will confirm because in my videos I've said synthetic division is allowed, but if it turns out that it's not, then I need to make that correction. In this question, all distances are in meters and all times are in seconds. The diagram shows the velocity time graph v to t graph of a particle. Okay, the particle travels a distance of 2750 in 120 seconds. Now remember, what is it of a velocity time graph that's equal to distance? It's basically area. Okay, area is equal to distance. ठीक हो गया? Okay, find the velocity v of the particle when t is equals to 70. All right, now, because this is not a shape where I can say, you know what, use this formula, find the area, get the answer, we'll have to break it down into familiar shapes. Okay, so we'll have to first break it down into a rectangle. Then even this is not a shape where we can say that we have a formula to calculate its area directly. We don't. So we'll have to break it down into a trapezium. Okay, and then we have to break it down into a triangle and then a rectangle. Okay, so we'll have to break this down into 3. Okay, so let's do that step by step. First, let's break this down into this rectangle. Okay, the area of which is going to be 300. So let's write that immediately. 300. Okay, so make sure to show your working also. 10 times 30 plus. Now, what about this area? This area is a trapezium. ठीक है, तो इस ट्रेपेजियम का एरिया निकालने के लिए आपको यूज़ करना पड़ेगा ट्रेपेजियम का फॉर्मूला ऑब्वियसली. So what's that? That will basically be half into sum of parallel sides. The parallel sides are 10 and v. So 10 plus v into the height, which is equal to 40. Okay, so remember, if the parallel sides are vertical, the height is horizontal. So one is 10, the other is v, so the height is horizontal. ठीक है, plus the area of the triangle, which will be half into 70 times, 120 minus 70, which is equal to 50 into v. And what's this equal to? This is equal to 2750. ठीक हो गया? Okay, so 300 plus, let's see what this simplifies to. 2 1s are, 2 20s are, 20 into 10, that's 200 plus 20v. Let's see what this simplifies to. This simplifies to 25v is equals to 2750. So 300 plus 200 is 500. So this becomes 45. 45 is equals to 2 to 45v. 45v is equals to 2250. Now we can calculate the value of v, which will be 2250 divided by 45. You can start simplifying by 9. 9 5s are 45. 9 2s are 18. 2 carry. 9 2s are 18 again. What will carry? 9 2s are 18. No, 4 carry hoga. Sorry. 9 2s are 18. 4 carry. 9 5s are 45. 0 as it is. So what's 250 upon 5? 250 upon 5 is equal to 50. So v is equals to 50. देखो ये 2 marks का justified इसलिए है. You might argue that this is a lot of working for 2 marks because this is now non-calculator. Okay, this question is from a paper which is originally a calculator paper, but because we're doing it without a calculator, we are saying we're basically feeling that way. Okay, otherwise you're absolutely right. This is not justified for 2 marks, but if it was a calculator paper, then you know this is a piece of cake, honestly. सर अगर मेरा ए आ गया AM आपकी वीडियोस देख के तो मैं आपके घर मिठाई लाऊंगा. चलें. Okay. What method of simplification is this? It's the one that we use in math. We divide. We basically simplify fractions. That's the method. Okay, चलें आगे चलते हैं. Find the acceleration of the particle for t is greater than 70. Okay, now that we know what v is, and remember the question is asking for acceleration, so that means we will take the gradient. Okay, what's the gradient going to be? The gradient is going to be 50 minus 0 over 70 minus 120. Okay, so 70 minus 120. So it's 50 over minus 50, okay, which is equal to minus 1. There you go. So because the question was asking for acceleration, so acceleration will be given with a minus sign. So you're retaking after A. Wow, bhai. बेटा ए पे तो सेटल हो सकते थे आप. आई मीन ए इज़ अ प्रीटी गुड ग्रेड टू हैव. नो, ए इज़ एम्बैरेसिंग. ओके, चल, आई मीन it's good to aim high, but I think A is a pretty decent grade. I mean, ultimately, I don't want to discourage you. I hope you inshallah get an A star or even better. Maybe you end up with a distinction. But ultimately, when you're applying for scholarships, so A and A star, in most of the cases, end up being in the same category. Okay, so let's integrate this. And notice the question says giving an answer in exact form. So when to put minus in negative acceleration graph? When to put minus in negative acceleration graph? When to put minus in negative acceleration graph? What do you mean? If the question says acceleration and it's negative, then you give it with the minus sign. But if the question had asked for deceleration, and in that case, had it been negative, we wouldn't have written the minus sign. So you add 1 to the power, you divide by the new power. Yeah, you're right. These are math questions. This could very well be a math question. Okay, and you also divide by the differential of the bracket. And don't forget the limits that they are 4 and 2. Okay, थोड़ा simplify कर लेते हैं. So 5x minus 2 raised to the power 1 upon 3. Okay, because minus 2 upon 3 plus 1 is 1 upon 3 over 5 upon 3. Okay, so what's 1 divided by 5 upon 3? That's 3 upon 5. Okay, so this becomes 3 upon 5 into 5x minus 2 raised to the power 1 upon 3 within the limits 4 and 2. Sorry, not 4 and 3, 4 and 2. Okay, now here's the thing. A good idea would be to take the constant outside so that it doesn't bother you too much. Okay, so take the constant outside, and now what we're dealing with is basically this. Okay, so we just have to worry about plugging in the limits in 5x minus 2 raised to the power 1 upon 3. Okay, so 5 times 4, what's that equal to? That's equal to 20. 20 minus 2, what's that equal to? That's equal to 18. So 18 raised to the power 1 upon 3. We can't take the cube root of it, so no problem. Okay, so that's with the upper limit plugged in. Okay, now let's plug in the lower limit. So the lower limit would be 5 times 2 is 10, 10 minus 2 is 8, so that's 8 raised to the power 1 upon 3, which we can simplify. And don't forget that there's a 5 upon 3 waiting outside. Okay, there's a 5 upon 3 waiting outside. So as far as 8 raised to the power 1 upon 3 is concerned, that's 2. As far as 18 raised to the power 1 upon 3 is concerned, there's nothing we can do about that. So we'll let that be as it is. So there you go. This is your answer. You can leave it as it is if you want. In fact, it's best that you leave it as it is. I do not recommend that you multiply it by 5 upon 3. This is good enough. Acha. Sir, will they cut marks if you don't? Yeah, of course. Because acceleration is minus, they will cut marks. Oh yeah, it's 3 upon 5. Okay. अभी अगर मैं पेपर कर रहा होता तो मेरे मार्क्स कट जाते. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, part B. Part B says find so-and-so, giving your answer in the form of a plus l and b, where a and b are integers. Okay, so keep your eyes on this. We're supposed to give it in the form of a plus l and b, where a and b are integers. So that means we can't have fractions. All right, so before we worry about the limits, let's first integrate. So 4 upon 2x plus 1, इसको कैसे integrate करेंगे? We can't use that concept where we say that we add 1 to the power, divide by the new power. Okay. So 4 upon 2x plus 1. We'll integrate this separately. Plus this, however, we can shift in the numerator. So if we shift this in the numerator, this will become 8 times 2x plus 1, and the power will now be negative. Okay, and we'll integrate this separately also. So utilize the space very efficiently, because apparently there's not a lot of space given as much as you would like. So utilize the space very efficiently. Okay. How would you integrate 4 upon 2x plus 1? So here's my suggestion. My suggestion is that you start fresh. Okay, what do I mean by that? You take this 4 and you bring it outside. Okay, so that way, what you're looking at is basically this. So if you take the 4 outside, this is what you're looking at. Okay. Now, how would you bring the 1 equal to the... How would you bring the numerator equal to the differential of the denominator? What would you get if you differentiate 2x plus 1? You would get 2. So that means you'll have to multiply this by 2. If you're multiplying by 2, that means outside you will divide by 2. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to multiply it by 2, and outside I'm going to divide it by 2. Okay? ठीक है, अभी इस पे अगले स्टेप पे दोबारा इसको देख लेंगे. What we can do now is, what we can do at the same time is we can continue and integrate 8 into 2x plus 1 raised to the power minus 2. So that we will do the regular way. We will add 1 to the power. So minus 2 plus 1 is minus 1. We'll divide by the new power, which is also minus 1. And we'll also multiply by the differential of the bracket, which is equal to 2. Okay, now let's see what's next. उल्टा कर दें? हाँ, कर दिया मैंने. ठीक है. Okay, so what's 4 upon 2? That's 2. Okay, and this is 2 times 2 over 2x plus 1. Okay, we'll integrate this in the next step. A good idea would be to continue from here. And while we're at it, let's simplify this. So 8 upon minus 2, that's basically minus 4 upon 2x plus 1. Okay, so I've simplified this. 2 1s are 2, 2 4s are 8, and 4 upon minus 1, so that becomes minus 4. Okay. Now when we integrate, what we're dealing with is 2 ln 2x plus 1, okay, minus 4 over 2x plus 1. This is what we're dealing with. Okay, now let's recall the limits. What are the limits? The limits are half and 0. Okay, the limits are half and 0. Okay, how much space do we have? Plenty of space, but still let's be as efficient as possible. So if you plug in half, 2 times half is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So that means we're looking at 2 ln 2. ठीक हो गया. Minus 4 over 2 times half is 1. 1 plus 1 is equals to 2. So this is with the upper limit plugged in. Okay. Now let's subtract with the lower limit plugged in. So for the lower limit, it's going to be 2 ln 1. ln 1, remember, is equal to 0. Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll write that in a minute. Minus 4 upon 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. There you go. So what are we looking at? We're looking at 2 ln 2 minus 2 minus 0 minus 4. So minus 0 we can totally ignore. So that means we're looking at 2 ln 2 minus 2 minus minus becomes plus. So that's plus 4. So 2 ln 2 plus 2. Okay. Is this the way the question wants? No. So we'll have to get rid of this 2. 2 ln 2 is ln 4. ln 4 plus 2. This is also not the way the question wants. The question wants is like this. 2 plus ln 4. And there you go, fellas. That is, in fact, the final answer. A plus ln b. Yeah. So 2 plus ln 4. So why did you multiply and divide by 2? मुझे समझ नहीं आया. देखो, how do you decide that it's integration that's leading to ln? If the numerator can somehow be made equal to the differential of the denominator, that's when you use ln. So if you focus on what I've written in blue, it's 1 upon 2x plus 1. What happens if you differentiate the denominator? You get 2. That means ideally I would like a 2 in the numerator. So I'll have to multiply it by 2. Now I can't just multiply it by 2 and leave it there. I also have to divide by 2. Okay? And that's how we get 2 upon 2x plus 1. But that's a pointless question. Okay, I'm not going to answer that. I don't waste my time in such debates. And I suggest you guys to do the same. ठीक है, time एक बहुत important resource है. Don't waste it debating something that's totally pointless. So I have a question that the kinematics content of M1 and AdMaths is same or different. Just the part where you use differentiation, calculus applied to kinematics, only that part is the same. But M1 का वो वाला part is actually easier than M1 का वाला part is actually easier than AdMaths. ठीक है, अच्छा, is taking further math worth it? If math hasn't challenged you, yeah, that's correct. If you've never been challenged by math, if math has been a joke to you your entire life and you really want to test yourself, then go ahead and take further math. Will you do a live stream on equation of circles for AdMaths? I've already done that. I've already done like 3-4 streams on equation of circles. So let's solve this. 8 minus 4x times 2 is equals to 25 minus 5, which is equal to 20. So 8 minus 4x inside the modulus is equals to 20 upon 2, which is equal to 10. Now what happens when you get rid of the modulus sign? There's a plus minus. So 8 minus 4x is equals to either a positive 10 or 8 minus 4x is either equal to minus 10. Now let's solve this. So 4x is equals to 8 minus 10, which is minus 2. So x is equals to minus 1 upon 2. Or 18 is equals to 4x, which means x is equals to positive 9 upon 2. अगर आपके पास पेपर में टाइम हो तो मेरी आपको suggestion ये that you know what you can do is you can plug in these values for any equation that you solve. You can actually plug in the value back into the equation and see if the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. सर इस साल थ्रेशोल्ड लो होगा मैथ्स के लिए, बट अभी कैम्ब्रिज वालों को ईमेल करके पूछता हूँ. ठीक है, अभी मैं आप लोगों के लिए ईमेल डालता हूँ और मैं पूछता हूँ उनसे. So what do you think will happen with AI students? Well, we can only wait and find out. All right, part B. Solve the inequality. So we're dealing with a quadratic inequality. Let's see what it says. So let's multiply 6 with the expression that we have on the left hand side. So 6 times 16, what's that? 80. 80 plus 16, 96. 96x minus 30x square minus 18 is less than 57 minus 9x. Now let's move all the terms to the left hand side and let's write it nicely also while we're at it. So minus 30x square अच्छा, अब 96 plus 9, what's that equal to? That's equal to 10 ऐड करेंगे तो 106, एक कम कर लेते हैं, so 105. So plus 105x, okay, minus 18 minus 57. So that's 18 plus 57. Let's see what's that equal to. 7 plus 7, 14. 14 plus 1 is 15. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. Okay, so this is minus 75 is less than 0. Now, a good idea would be to first multiply the entire equation by minus. And remember, when you do that, when you multiply both sides by minus, okay, the inequality sign flips. So this becomes 30x square minus 105x, okay, plus 75 is less than 0. सर आज आपका मूड अच्छा नहीं लगा? नहीं बेटा, मेरा मूड सही है. आप लोग इससे फजूल सवाल पूछते हैं, इसका मेरे पास कोई जवाब नहीं होता, तो इसलिए मैंने सोचा कि कोई अलग से जवाब दूँ आप लोगों को. So let's take 5 common. So you have x square minus 21x plus, what's 75 divided by 5? Is that 15? Yeah, 15 is less than 0. Okay, we can take 3 common again. So let's take 3 common. Oh yeah, greater than 0. Greater than 0. Forgot to change the sign. It's greater than 0. Yep, that's correct. Greater than 0. Okay, I'll mention it over here that when you do that, remember the sign flips. Okay, now we can divide this by 3 now. So if I divide this by 3, so that would be 2x square minus 7x plus 5 is greater than 0. Okay, so 2x square minus 7x plus 5 is greater than 0 is what you're solving. So you need factors of 10 that give you 7. So the answer is in the question. That would be minus 5 and minus 7. So minus 2x, minus 5 and minus 2. Minus 2x minus 5x plus 5 is greater than 0. Let's take 2x common. So you have x minus 1. Let's take minus 5 common. So once again, you have x minus 1 greater than 0. For a second, think that this is a quadratic equation rather than a quadratic inequality. So x would be equal to 5 upon 2 or x is equals to 1. 5 upon 2 is basically 2.5 in case you're wondering. So that means 5 upon 2 बाद में आएगा, 1 पहले आएगा. So here's 5 upon 2. We're looking at a minimum curve. Okay, now remember we're solving a quadratic inequality for which it's always a good idea to make a quadratic curve and then solve it. Now what is the range of x that we want? We want the range of x where this curve is above the x-axis. How do I know that? Because it's greater than 0. Okay, greater than 0 means above the x-axis. Now what would be that range? That range would be when x is greater than 5 upon 2. Okay, comma, when x is less than 1. So there you go. That is the answer. ठीक हो गया. अच्छा, what's that? What do I do? What I do is put an equal to sign in between later. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can do that also. But just remember that when you're writing down the inequality, you have to make a quadratic curve and solve it. Don't be lazy and के चलो मैं इसको भी greater कर देता हूँ और इसको भी greater कर देता हूँ क्योंकि यहाँ पे greater वाला sign है. That's not how a quadratic inequality works. अच्छा, what's that, sir? I appreciate that. What if you solve the negative quadratic and don't flip the sign? That's perfectly all right. You can solve the negative. But in that case, remember, you will have to make a maximum curve. In that case, you will have to make a maximum curve. What happened? I don't know, beta. आप लोगों को मैं क्या लगता हूँ? मेरे पास क्या मुस्तकबिल की खबरें, थ्रेशोल्ड क्या होगा, पेपर आसान होगा, मुश्किल होगा, एएस वाले स्टूडेंट्स के साथ क्या होगा, जंग होगी नहीं होगी. मैथ पढ़ाने से आपको मुस्तकबिल का हाल नहीं पता चल जाता. Yeah, asking threshold before the paper. Exactly. How silly is that? अच्छा, इसको सॉल्व करते हैं. Just a minute. Okay. You have saved my life. I appreciate that. So here it says does not meet the curve. Does not meet the curve means that b square minus 4ac will be less than 0. Okay, b square minus 4ac will be less than 0. Yeah, exactly. So be a little patient. As things unfold, you'll find out what's going to happen. So 9kx plus 1 is equals to kx square plus, I think it would be a good idea to open this bracket. Let's find out. 6kx plus 3x plus 4. Now let's shift all the terms to the left hand side. When it's greater than or equal to, if it just says meets the curve, because meets the curve could be at 1 point, could be at 2 points. So if it just says meets the curve, that means it's greater than or equal to 0. Okay. So kx square minus, so in fact, let's write this as it is first. 6kx plus 3x minus 9kx, ठीक हो गया, plus 4 minus 1, which is equal to 3, equals to 0. Now, kx square plus 3x minus 3kx, और 4 minus 1 क्या हो जाएगा, 3 हो जाएगा, that's equal to 0. अच्छा, now let's take x common, so kx square plus x, if you do that, you have 3 minus 3k plus 3, which is equal to 0. Now, what's a is equal to k. What's b? b is equals to 3 minus 3k. Okay, no need to make a bracket. And c is equals to 3 also. Let's just double check before we move on. Now, everything's good. 6 minus 9, that's minus 3. 3x minus 3kx. 4 minus 1 is 3. Yep, we're good to go. So 3 minus 3k, the whole thing square, that's b square, minus 4 times k times 3 is less than 0. Acha, note the question says find the values of k. So that means we're most likely going to end up with two separate ranges. So 3 square is 9, 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, so minus 18k plus 9k square, 4 times 3 is 12, so that's minus 12k is less than 0. Okay, so we have 9k square minus 18 minus 12, that's minus 30k plus 9 is less than 0. What can we do here? We can divide the entire equation by 3. So upon dividing the entire equation by 3, we get 3k square minus 10k plus 3 is less than 0. So we're looking for factors of 3 that give you minus 10. So that's going to be 3k square. Sorry, we're looking for factors of 9 that give you minus 10. So that's going to be minus 9 and minus 1. So minus 9k minus 1k plus 3 is less than 0. So 3k into k minus 3, and then we take minus 1 common, which means in the bracket once again we have k minus 3 is less than 0. Now remember, for a second, assume that it's a quadratic equation that you're solving, not a quadratic inequality. So k is equals to 1 upon 3 and k is equals to 3. Now make a quadratic curve. So this quadratic curve is cutting the x-axis at 1 upon 3 and 3. The only difference is that it's not x that you're solving for, you're solving for k. Okay, so whatever we do for x, we'll do for k. Now, what part of the curve do you want? Notice the question says less than 0. Less than 0 means you want the part of the curve that's below the x-axis. So that means k would be greater than 1 upon 3 and less than 3. That's your answer. There you go. ठीक हो गया? All right. Now, question number 10. I think this is the second to last question. Solve the following simultaneous equations. Sir, the graph of function is the only thing bothering me in this paper. Graph of function. So we've already done that. Sir, is it sufficient to self-study 0580 math and using relative videos and notes? Yeah, that's possible. That is possible. If you're committed, honestly, the amount of content that there is already, if you're committed, you can honestly do it on your own. ठीक है? अच्छा, अब इसको ना ज़रा थोड़ा क्रिएटिव तरीके से सॉल्व करने की कोशिश करते हैं. ठीक है, वो कैसे मैं अभी आपको बताता हूँ. Instead of making, yeah, काम करते हैं. Let's just do it the normal way, otherwise you guys will probably get confused. So x is equals to 1 upon 2y. Okay, so I've made x the subject using the second equation, which means I'll plug this in into the second equation. If it says real roots, then it's going to be greater than or equal to 0. Why? Because we don't know whether it's real and distinct or whether it's real and equal. So you're right. So 3y minus 2 into 1 upon 2y plus 2 is equals to 0. So this 2 and this 2 cancels. All right, so what do we have? We have 3 minus 1 upon y plus 2 is equals to 0. So we'll have to take the LCM. So the LCM is going to be y. That means this will be 3y square minus 1 plus 2y is equals to 0. Cross multiply. So you have 3y square plus 2y minus 1 is equals to 0. We're looking for factors of minus 3 that give you positive 2. So 3y squared plus 3y minus 1 is equals to 0. Let's take 3y common. So that's going to be y plus 3. Let's take minus 1 common. Sorry, y plus 1. Let's take minus 1 common. So that will also be y plus 1 is equals to 0. So that means y is equals to 1 upon 3 or y is equals to minus 1. Once you have the value of y, don't forget to find out the value of x. Remember, x was equal to 1 upon 2y. Okay, let's double check. Yep. Now there are two different values of y that you've ended up with. So that means you plug them in one by one and find out the two different values of x. So let's start by plugging in y equals to 1 upon 3. So when you plug in 1 upon 3, you're dealing with 1 upon 2 and 2, 1 upon 3. So that's going to be 1 upon 2 upon 3, which means that's equal to 3 upon 2. Okay, so let's write this nicely. 3 upon 2, comma, 1 upon 3. Okay. Then the other value is y is equals to minus 1. So not a lot of working required for that. It's 1 upon 2 times minus 1, which means x is equals to minus 1 upon 2. Now write this nicely. X first and then y. So minus 1 upon 2 minus 1. That's your answer. So a lot of students take advanced in O-level, and when the paper time comes, they don't give the paper because it helps in A-level. So right thing is this. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. But if you do take advanced, like if you take it as a proper subject and you give the exam also, then you should definitely give the CI. No, I don't do mocks for edXL. I don't teach edXL, but I'm thinking of teaching edXL from next year onwards. There are a lot of requests. Anyway, show that the line PQ is perpendicular to the line QR. So first of all, let's find out the gradient of line PQ. So what will be the gradient of line PQ? That's going to be 4 minus minus 8 is equals to over 2 minus minus 4. So 4 minus minus 8 is equals to 12 over 2 minus minus 4. That's equal to 6. So the gradient of line PQ is equals to 2. Now let's find out the gradient of line QR. So that's going to be 0 minus 4 over 10 minus 2. So 0 minus 4 is minus 4. 10 minus 2 is 8, which means this is equal to minus 1 upon 2. So the gradient of line QR is equals to minus 1 upon 2. So there are many ways of showing that they are perpendicular. You can state that they are negative reciprocal of one another, or you can simply do that 2 times minus 1 upon 2 is equal to minus 1. Therefore, PQ is perpendicular to QR. Okay, so when two lines are perpendicular, remember the product of their gradients is equal to minus 1. There you go. Now, hence find the equation of the circle which passes through PQ and R. All right, that's interesting. That is interesting. How many of you got this right? Or how many of you understood what to do here? Because this is not just advanced, this is actually a bit of math also. So, किससे हो गया ये? PR is diameter. That's correct. So if it's passing through PQ and R, that means this is the kind of situation. अच्छा, right angle कहाँ पे होगा? Right angle Q पे होगा. Why will the right angle be at Q? Because read the question. The previous part, it says show that line PQ is perpendicular to QR. So that means the right angle must be at Q. Okay, because Q is the common point. Here's PQ and here's QR. Line PQ is perpendicular to QR, which basically means that the kind of situation that we are in is, although not drawn to scale, and I've purposely not drawn it to scale, but remember what's the circle property? The circle property is that angle, which angle is 90 degrees? Angle that's opposite the diameter. So that means PR is basically the diameter. Okay, not PQ. PR is the diameter. Okay, not PQ. PR is the diameter because 90 degree angle will be at Q. Therefore, PR is the diameter. Okay, so angle Q or angle PQR is equals to 90 degrees. Therefore, PR is the diameter. Okay, now what are the two things that you need in order to find out the equation of the circle? You want the center coordinates. So for that, we will take the coordinates of P that happen to be minus 4 and minus 8. And we'll take the coordinates of R, which happen to be 10 and 0. We'll find out their midpoint. We will have the coordinates of the center. So midpoint would be minus 4 plus 10 upon 2. Okay, and then minus 8 plus 0 upon 2. So minus 4 plus 10, that's 6. 6 upon 2 is 3. Minus 8 plus 0, that's minus 8. Minus 8 upon 2, that's minus 4. So this is basically the center. Okay, these are the coordinates of the center. Now how to find out the radius? अच्छा, remember हमें radius नहीं चाहिए होता है, हमें basically r square चाहिए होता है. So in order to find out the radius or r square, okay, so the radius will actually be equal to the distance CR, CP, CQ, whatever it is that you want. Okay, so CP, CR, CQ. Find out the distance of, because all these points are on the circumference, so to find out the radius, take the distance of any of these points from the center. Okay, so I'm going to go with P for no obvious reason. Take it, just like that. So P has coordinates minus 4, minus 8. So let's find out PC. Okay, and we will find out PC square, not PC square root, we'll just find out PC square. So that's going to be minus 4 minus 3, the whole thing square, plus minus 8 minus minus 4, the whole thing square. So minus 4 minus 3, that's minus 7, square of which is 49. Take a minus 8 minus minus 4, which will be equal to minus 8 plus 4, which is 4, square of which is equal to 16. So this is r square. Now what's 49 plus 16? That's equal to 55, 65. So r square is equals to 65. So that means the final equation would be x minus 3 the whole thing square plus y plus 4 the whole thing square is equals to r square. So what's r square? R square is equals to 65. ठीक है, पूरा क्वेश्चन कितनी आसानी से बगैर कैलकुलेटर के हो गया. There you go. All good so far? Anyone who's getting like a perfect score so far? Perfect score. Sir, can you please do a last minute revision for edXL Math? I know you don't teach. The thing is, since I don't teach edXL, I don't know. I'm not familiar with the syllabus content. So if I do it, I'll probably do a horrible job. I'm sure there are other edXL teachers on YouTube. In fact, I think there's a lot of content on edXL on YouTube already. No, this is not the last mock for AdMaths. We'll take more mocks, inshallah. Okay, now, so let me know whether you guys want more non-calculator mocks or calculator mocks. Considering कि non-calculator पहले है, तो मेरे ख्याल में we should take more non-calculator mocks. So O-level maths कब करेंगे? O-level maths तो बेटा अब तो जरा चिल करें आप लोग, ठीक है. अच्छा, मैं काम करूँगा. I'll do a vote on my Instagram and I'll do a vote on my YouTube. और उसका फिर जो cumulative result बनेगा, as per that I will decide. Okay. I'm also of the opinion that we should do more non-calculator. I think majority seems to be of that opinion as well. But we'll do a vote, inshallah. Okay, so the question says, find the exact value of dy by dx when x is equals to pi upon 3. So we'll have to use quotient rule here. U is equals to tan x. Okay. Which means that u prime will be equal to sec square x. Okay, so v is equals to sine 3x. Which means v prime will be equal to cos 3x times 3. So that means v is equals to 3 cos 3x. So vu prime plus uv prime. That's the answer. So vu prime means sec square x sine 3x. ठीक हो गया? Okay. And plus uv prime is tan x or 3 tan x cos 3x. 3 tan x cos 3x. Yeah, we're using product law. So this is dy by dx. So 3 tan x cos 3x. Whoops, sorry, not 3, cos 3x. Acha, what's the value of x? The value of x is pi upon 3. Acha, here's the thing. We don't know what sec is. I mean, we do know what sec is, but if we can't really evaluate it. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to change this to cos square x, and in place of x, we're going to plug in pi upon 3. Okay. Into sine 3x, so that means sine times of 3 into pi upon 3. ठीक है. Plus 3 tan of pi upon 3, okay, into cos of 3 into pi upon 3. ठीक है. Okay, अच्छा ये frankly speaking मुझे यहाँ पे करना चाहिए था. Okay, now. All right, that's pretty good. So cos pi upon 3, what's that equal to? That's equal to 1 upon 2. So that means 1 over 1 upon 2, the whole thing squared, into sine pi. Now what's sine pi equal to? For sine pi, just recall the shape of the graph. Sine pi is basically equal to 0. ठीक है, sine pi याद रखो, sine pi बराबर होता है 0 के. So into 0, so that means इसका तो पूरा चैप्टर क्लोज हो गया, ये तो 0 ही हो गया. ठीक है, सुकून हो गया. Okay, 3 times tan pi upon 3. So tan pi upon 3 we can see as root 3. There you go. Into, this is going to be cos pi. Now what's cos pi equal to? Cos pi is equals to minus 1. Here you go. This is pi. So what's cos pi equal to? Cos pi is equals to minus 1. So 3 times root 3 into minus 1. So that means the answer is minus 3 under root 3. There you go. That's it. The answer is simply minus 3 under root 3. That is your dy by dx. Sir, will you do streams on... Yeah, of course, I will do that. Acha, what's that? Sir, not gonna lie, I kind of miss studying math. Just finished my levels and so on. Yeah, ye hota hai. You do miss it. You do miss it. Like, I know once I'm done with the session, I'll definitely miss these streams. So that is the case. So just whatever rest of the subjects that you have, I'm just going to say enjoy it, because you will miss them, inshallah. I mean, you will miss studying them once you're done with them. So it is given that x is increasing at a rate of 3 units per second. So what are we given? We're given dx upon dt. Dx upon dt, what's that equal to? That's equal to 3. Find the corresponding rate of change of y. So that means we have to find out dy upon dt. Okay, and when do we want it? We want it when x is equals to pi upon 3. Achha, the good thing about this question is that उसने हमसे सारा मुश्किल चीज़ें ना already निकलवा ली. Okay. उसने हमसे सारी मुश्किल चीज़ें already करवा ली हैं. ठीक है. Now remember, there is a 3W approach for rates of change. What is it that's given? This is what's given. What is it that we want? This is what we want. When do we want it? This is what we want. This is when we want it. So first thing we do is we make a chain rule. Now there's a very standard way of making a chain rule. The numerator of the first fraction is equals to numerator of what we want. Denominator of the second fraction also equal to the denominator of what we want. Here and here we'll have something that's a the same and also relevant. So the only thing that makes sense is basically dx. Now we already know what dy upon dx is. The question just made us work that out. Okay, so I'll continue here so we don't run out of space. So dy upon dt is equals to dy upon dx, which is equal to minus 3 under root 3. Okay, into dx upon dt, and what's that equal to? That's equal to 3. Okay, so what's dy upon dt equal to? Dy upon dt is equals to minus 9 root 3. And there you go, fellas. That's the answer. Okay, now the last part of the last question. Find the approximate change in y as x increases from pi upon 3 to pi upon 3 plus h. Okay, so approximate change in y over approximate change in x is a small change in y over small change in x is approximately equal to dy upon dx. Okay. So approximate change in y is what we want. What's the small change in x? That's basically h. And what's dy by dx is equal to? That's equal to minus 3 under root 3. So it's a very easy question, honestly. So the small change in y is approximately equal to minus 3 under root 3h. There you go. Easy peasy. ठीक हो गया. So there you go. This was the first mock, relatively easy. As you guys know that I always make the first mock easy. But the second mock, inshallah, I will make it slightly more complex. So just be mentally prepared. Sir, do you remember me from my name? Hamdan. Hamdan from Nixar? Let me guess. Hamdan from... That's the only Hamdan I remember. Sir, please YouTube a poll. Yeah, I'll put a poll on YouTube. Also, you deleted your Instagram forever. Actually, I think you did a brilliant thing. ना ना आपने एड मैथ्स ले लिया, अच्छी बात है. चलें, so I'll stop here. So please do stream on permutations and combinations. I have already done a lot of streams on permutations and combinations, but chalo, close to exams I'll do another one. Okay, close to exams inshallah I will do another one. I thought you forgot. No, I didn't forget you. I mean, I remember quite a few. Obviously not everyone, but I remember quite a few. The next mock inshallah not tomorrow. Tomorrow I will not be doing an ad math stream. Tomorrow is dedicated to S1 and P3, but most likely on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. ठीक है, S1 का mock अभी थोड़ी देर में है, 4 PM. I think मैंने live setup किया हुआ है. So at 4 PM there will be an S1 mock inshallah. ठीक है, so I'll stop here. P3 on Sunday. Oh, you're right. I did say P3 on Sunday. चलो P3 कल तो मैं कर रहा हूँ. Tomorrow I'm doing P3. I'm starting with complex numbers. Okay, कल confirm. So what I'll do is I'll make up for it inshallah by doing 2 P3 streams in a day. Sir, give this disgusting APGP. So now I'll see what I can do. But anyway, this is enough for now. I'll see you guys inshallah in the next stream. So take care, fellas. Keep studying. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.